Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Naaz Shafeer from Seattle, Washington. Today I will be doing a youth speech for the youth speech contest of NANMMA. The speech I will be doing today and the topic will be from the Orator, derived from the Orator Yasmin Mogahed, and the topic is the secret path to happiness. Let's start. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dear brothers and sisters, today we have a lot of time to do productive things where we can achieve things and it will be helpful for us in the future. So nowadays, many people are encouraged to give those in need, to help the people that are poor. The purpose of these kind of speeches are for those kind of purposes. So sometimes the focus distorts into that we should help people because they need us. They need us. They do need our help. They do need our kindness. They are going through difficulties. But the focus distorts so much that it destroys the cause of that creation. So the focus, it's not they need us. It's actually the opposite. We need them. We have to help people because we need them. We are talking about people who are impoverished, people who have been affected by the coronavirus, people who are jobless, people who are homeless, people who do not have food to eat. We are content. We have shelter. We have food. We have a place to sleep, alhamdulillah. We aren't worried about being homeless. Yet, you need them. And why is that? Why do we need them when we are content in a way? And that is because of happiness. Happiness is the reason of why we need them. Because when you help another person, the first and foremost person that you help is yourself. And why is that? Why is the first person you help yourself? There are two ways to look at this. The two ways to look at this is one is the Islamic way, where we look at the Quranic, the Hadith, and the Sunnah, and what is the text about it. And then there's a secular psychological way. And the secular psychological point of view first started the abnormal stuff. And then they moved on to the traditional stuff. And as they lingered in the traditional stuff, they came up with positive psychology. And in positive psychology, they came up with a few questions. The few questions were, what will help increase well-being? How can I live at a greater quality of life? And one of the obstacles they stumbled upon was, most of the time, happiness perceived by humans and other people is, if I get that, I will be happy. If I get that shoe, I will be happy. If I get an A on that test, I will be happy. If I pass that AP exam, I will be happy. But that is wrong. And if we are going to talk about happiness, we have to talk about the basics of happiness. And the basics of happiness is, we have something called the baseline happiness. And the baseline happiness is the starting point, the initial of where our happiness starts at. And when you get something you want or you have a big event in your life that's like a turning point, there will only be a temporary shift or a temporary spike. And that spike, it only lasts for a few minutes or a few days. And it's very short-lived, doesn't happen very long. It doesn't last for very long. But when we treat ourselves like that, we only get that happiness for a short spike. And it just goes back to the baseline. The temporary spike is short-lived. And that was another obstacle they stumbled upon. Is that there came a question was, what are some things that can increase the whole baseline? The entire baseline, not just get those temporary spikes. And when they thought about this, they came up with a few reliable ways, and one of the most reliable ways is to increase the baseline and not just get those temporary spikes, is to help others. When you help others, you increase your baseline. When you do stuff like volunteerism, And stuff like just simply smiling at someone or exchanging positive conversations is a charity to someone. It helps the other person. And things like aid to the people in need and making dua for others in private. And there's a hadith for this that has been said, is that when you make a dua for someone, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send down an angel to you whom replies, Ameen, and same to you. The angel replies to you and does the same for you. He makes dua for you too. And visiting a sick person for the sake of Allah. But it's a beloved act of worship to Him. But nowadays, it is not recommended. Another thing that might also be is staying at home. During this time of crisis, staying at home can be a big help to people. Because after I realized this fact, it really makes sense. Because when you stay at home, you are helping yourself initially. And after that, you help others because you're not getting affected in the first place. And you're not getting others affected in the second place. Another thing is many people agree upon is money doesn't buy you happiness. It's true. Money doesn't buy you happiness if you buy it for yourself. And that's also not true because you will only get happiness when you spend money on others, when you spend time with others, when you use your money for others. But in the research they showed was that when they spend it on themselves, they only get that temporary spike, that temporary shot, and that it's like only short-lived. They don't have that much happiness. And this is such a powerful outcome that even if you think or have a memory about a moment where you spent time with others or spent money on others, you will get happy from that. And now, you guys can see a trend. A trend is seen. It's like a divine design. And this divine design is Allah. Allah created this in ourselves. He created this within humans to see this enormous outcome. What will happen if humans started helping each other to get happiness from it? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this design within humans so that we feel good to give help and serve others. It feels good. And when I heard this fact, it made me imagine this is what Allah subhanahu really wants us to do. He wants us to help one another. He puts us inside a nature, a fitrah, so that we can help others and feel good about it, and we keep on helping others. This enormous outcome will be caused from this. And when we help others and we aid them and we serve them, we get this reward, this intrinsic reward, this immediate reward that we get from helping others. He also made this in a person who doesn't believe in Allah or even have faith. So when they give and they help others, they feel good about it. They feel good about helping, and they will keep on doing it so that they don't stop doing it. And this shows us how He designed us. He designed it so that we could help and give to others. He made it so that we feel tranquil and joyous to others. And none of this could increase your happiness. None of like good grades or new clothes or anything like that. Those won't increase your happiness. You just get those temporary spikes. That's why this is the only thing that this divine design that Allah put in us can really make us feel happiness and make us happy. So another thing that can also increase the baseline, the entire baseline, is the practice of gratitude. And what I mean by the practice of gratitude is not just once in a year or twice in a year. It's a gratitude where you do it often. It's a regular one. And some things that can increase the baseline by practicing of gratitude is writing 5 things you're grateful for. Just 5 things in your journal. 5 things in your journal that you're grateful for. It is also a very powerful treatment for depression. Just writing things in your journal and thinking about it is such a powerful treatment for depression. It has helped many people to get out of it. And this is when I realized that when you are suffering from something, the best way to get out of your own suffering is to help another person who is suffering. Just thinking about it gives me chills. If you aid them, help them, it is also therapeutic for the other person too. You help them, you get out of your own suffering, you get them out of their own suffering. And this is also like a way to get out of your own dark place is to help another person who is in a dark place. Now, these examples that I talked about and these studies that I talked about, these are just secular psychological reasons why. just secular psychological, the power positive psychology things, is that when I do service to others, the first person I serve to is myself. Now when I switch over to the Islamic point of view, the Islamic perspective of this, what does the text say? What does the Quran, the Hadith, the Sunnah say about this? What does the text say? What does our religion, our deen say about service to others? And just as a reminder, the message that I talked about earlier was that when you help others, the first person you help is yourself. Now another take-home message that I want to talk about is that there is an overall theme. An overall theme when you scan the text of the Quran, the Hadith, the Sunnah, there's an overall theme. Among many other themes, there's an overall theme that these texts put an immense emphasis on. And that emphasis is how I treat the creation is how I should expect God to treat me. How I should expect Allah to treat me. It includes all creation. Includes humans and animals. And many texts emphasizing on how we should treat animals and how people have been saved by their treatment of animals and how people have been punished by their mistreatment of animals. Now this opens up a whole different level of generosity. That when serving and aiding others, when I know that and I realize that my goodness is going to be how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treats me, all of a sudden, my goodness for others becomes my goodness for myself. And when I knew that the goodness is not humans giving to me, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving to me, it makes an astonishing realization. Now, I will talk about an example, and this example is when Aisha radiallahu anha was accused of being unchaste. Her father, Abu Bakr radiallahu anha, found out that one of the people that were accusing her was a relative. It was a relative that he was financially supporting too. Just imagine a person, somebody slandering, and and your relative slandering your own daughter for being unchaste, and it's someone you financially support. It's unthinkable. So what does he do? What does Abu Bakr radiallahu anha do? He doesn't get revenge. He doesn't go out and try to fight them. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't do anything that is involved with revenge. He just withholds the financial support. So then Allah after this incident, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals an ayah about this. He addressing it to Abu Bakr radiallahu anha, but obviously all people of all time, since the Quran is a timeless book, he says, let them pardon and overlook. Let them pardon and overlook. Why? This is in Surah An-Nur, ayah 22. أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. Do you not love Allah? Do you not love that Allah to forgive you? And this makes a connection. This makes a connection between Allah and His creations. There is a connection that when I am a certain way with other creations or other people, if I forgave others, or in this example, if Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu forgave that relative, which is unthinkable, if he forgave him, then Allah is saying that there is a connection between him and getting the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now that is a whole different way to look at it. Sometimes we don't like to forgive people because we feel like they don't deserve our forgiveness. We feel like they haven't done enough to deserve my forgiveness. They haven't said sorry, they aren't regretful, they haven't even touched my feet, they haven't even apologized to me. Then why should they deserve my forgiveness? But the relative didn't do any of these things. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is completely shifting the focus here. It's completely shifting. The focus is not even about the relative. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say in that ayah, forgive that relative because he was regretful. It wasn't even actually about the relative. Almost as if he became invisible in that scenario. And this is saying that how we treat others is really essentially about the root and the infrastructure about our relationship with God directly. About me and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he says in that ayah, أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. And it really just became about Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No relative. It's really a vertical transaction between me and Allah. It's not horizontal between me and the creation. It's vertical. But that the creation and how I am with the creation becomes the means to get my relationship with Allah. That's really mind-blowing. It changes the way we interact. Because if I expect my return from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or above, I no longer accept it from the creation. I no longer expect it from the creation. I no longer need it. And what this creates are people who are generous, people who are forgiving, people who are giving, people who are serving others and aiding others and helping others. And when they know that their pay is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they no longer need it from the creation anymore. And in order to this, to add a note, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has an account that is infinite. It never runs out. It doesn't run out of blessing. And there's a hadith that also corresponds with this. It is that those who do not show mercy to those on earth will not be shown mercy from the one in the heavens. Which means is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not show mercy to people who do not show mercy to His creations. And what we have to keep in mind is that who I am and how I am with the creation will be a reflection of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be with me in this life and in the next. The next step is that we've spoken about rewards in this life. There is a reward that we get, intrinsic reward, that you can actually feel happier and an alleviation in your pain when you help others who are in pain. And that is a fact shown in many studies. And not only the immediate reward, and on top of that, we will also get blessed by God in this life. One thing that anyone can attest to is that any amount of money or any gift you give for the sake of Allah, it always returns and multiplied, mostly multiplied. You do not in fact lose your money. You do not in fact lose your money when you give for the sake of Allah. It becomes an investment. And does investing mean losing your money? When you are investing something, are you losing your money? No, you are actually growing that money. You are growing it. You are increasing the amount of that money. So when I ask a 5-year-old or a young child who only has $20 to give up that money to put it in investment, they will think that they've completely lost that money because that understanding of that child is not advanced. Because they think as soon as I let go of that money, it is lost. It is gone forever. And we sort of have that spiritual understanding as that 5-year-old. Is that when we give money for the sake of Allah, we are losing that money. And no one wants to lose. But the reality is that in fact, it is an investment. We are investing the money. We are not losing that money. And there was an incident that happened with Aisha radiallahu anha and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained that one time he went out, she had donated a lamb or a goat. And what happened was that when he returned, she told him that I gave all of this animal for the sake of Allah, but I kept that favorite part of you, favorite part for us, favorite part that you like for you. The answer he said was so deep. He said, in fact, you kept the part we gave and we lost the part we kept. And the part she gave for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the part she kept, and the part she kept for Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the part she lost. Because there is no loss for what you give for the sake of Allah. It's just an investment. It keeps growing. It returns multiplied, manyfold. This is the whole point of an investment. The part we keep, the part we kept is what they lost. The part they kept is what they lost. And that is very powerful. So, in the Quran, many times we have seen that Allah makes an oath. Allah tells us that He makes an oath. And an oath meaning is that when we want someone to really understand or really believe what we're saying, and we want to really emphasize on that fact, we say wallah or swear. And when we say wallah, it's like we put a wow in front of Allah. We are swearing by God. That's something we do when we want to really emphasize that fact. So Allah also makes an oath in the Quran. وَالشَّمْسِ وَضُحَاهَا. And it means by the sun. And in one of the ayahs in Surah Asr, he says he makes an oath by time. Wal Asr. And it's just 3 ayats. It's just 3 ayats. And within these 3 ayats, you can understand your whole deen. Your whole deen. After making this oath by time, he says, indeed, mankind is in a state of loss. He says, Wal Asr. Innal insana lafi khusr. Indeed, mankind is in a state of loss. Indeed, mankind is in a state of loss. Because we are losing things. It is an essence to lose. It is an essence that is passed away. We are losing time, our health, our ability to do things, our beauty. We move towards aging, sickness. That is the nature of the dunya. We can't stop it from happening. Nothing can stop it from happening. No amount of ageless creams or no amount of face masks, nothing can stop it from happening. Then he says there is an exception. An exception. Except those who believe and do righteous deeds. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. There are many people that believe that we just have to do faith in the heart. But that is not enough. They say they fast in their heart, they wear their hijab in the heart, they pray in their heart. But when you do righteous deeds, you have to, or when you want to believe, you have to do externally. You have to do the action of it. And the rest of it is إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Which is, and then they enjoin others, they call on others, they are united. They go out to the community, they call for the truth. People who are protesting and seeing things that are unjust, they are going out and saying things. It is also serving others to help others. It is also standing for justice. That is part of the qualification. And in order to take this path, you need to have a lot of patience and perseverance, and you have to stand firm. And what does this mean? Everything that we own are in a state of loss. Our money, our health, our time, except those things that we give to Allah. That is very powerful. Our money, many people that agree upon is that we can't take our money to our grave, or our money doesn't go with us to our grave. I'm going to stay here today and tell you that is actually false. We can take our money to our grave. Prophet ﷺ said that when a person dies and enters the grave, all of their deed except these. All of their deed goes with them except these. And this one too. Sadaqah Jariyah. Sadaqah Jariyah is a sadaqah, a charity that continues to benefit others. And when you have to give it for the sake of Allah. And after this, it continues to benefit others. This money and these deeds are going to come back to your grave. But this is only which you gave to Allah. May Allah allow us to be forthcoming and helping others in being leaders in kindness and compassion and empathy. آمين يا رب العالمين. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم إنه غفور رحيم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.